Welcome back. 4-3 Algebra 2 move up. We're going to solve equations by factoring. We're going to now solve some harder equations that are basically the same things, but we're going to do it again, some more practice. So again, Algebra 2 skill, real world problems, quadratic functions, tables, graphs, equations. So that's our standard. We're going to hopefully see if we can get this done. So the zero product property is pretty important actually for us, because if without this property we wouldn't be able to do what we're doing. What it means is that if I have two things or more, okay, it doesn't really matter how many I have, if they're all being multiplied and they are equal to 0, then the property states that each individual thing must equal 0, or it could equal 0. And then we solve for whatever A, B, C, and D are. So an example of that is if I have x plus 2 times 3x minus 1, all of that's times 2x, and that's equal to 0. This is our A, this is our B, and this is our C. So I would set them all up. So A equals 0, B equals 0, and C equals 0. And then I would divide and solve to get rid of and solve for x. So this is x equals 0, x equals -2, and x equals 1/3. So those would be the answers that I'm looking for. And we're going to do some practice problems and hopefully get to that case. First example here, we're going to solve using the GCF. Remember, GCF is something that's what's in common. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is we need to make one side equal 0. Because this is already equal to 0, now I can go ahead and factor. So GCF is what's in common. They both have an 8, and they both contain an x. Take that out. 16x squared divided by 8x is 2x. 8x divided by 8x is 1. Now we use the zero product property. I take the 8x equals 0, and the 2x plus 1 equals 0. In this case, I can divide by 8, I get 0 still. This case, I subtract 1, divide by 2, and I get x equals -1/2. And those are my two answers for that problem. Okay, this is how we do it. Not that bad. Let's do the next one. Make one side equal to 0. So I bring this over, I get 20x squared plus 15x equals 0. I can factor out a 5x. I'm left with 4x plus 3 equals 0. Each individual thing, set it equal. And then divide, x equals 0. Subtract the 3, divide by 4, x equals -3/4. Those are your two answers. Okay, work on the next two, pause it, and then hit play. This one is already equal to 0, so that's great. So I can take out a 4. I'm left with a 1y plus 4 equals 0. Each individual thing equals 0, y plus 4. So this is y is equal to 0, and y is equal to -4. Those are my two answers there. The last one is something that you might have tripped up on, because I need to make this side 0. So I get 6a to the 5th plus 18a to the 4 equals 0. Let's take out a 6a to the 4. I'm left with a plus 3. So I take the 6a to the 4 equals 0. A plus 3 equals 0. I divide by 6. So I still get 0. Then I take the 4th root of it. Well, if I take the 4th root of 0, I actually get 0. And then I subtract over and I get a equals -3. So those are my two answers for that one. So that's factoring using GCF. We might still use GCF down below, but now we know how to do it. Alright, example type number 2, I'm back. Wharton! And this is the we do, so I'm going to do most of these, if not all of them, just to get you practice, and then there's 4 more below on the next page that you'll be able to do. So I'm factoring a trinomial. Trinomials means I have 3 terms, and I gotta still make one side 0, so that's good. So now, can I factor out anything? Is there anything these have in common? No. Now I make an x. 20, 9, and I get 5 and 4. Back in unit 0, 0/3. What you did now was you divided by a, and then you put in parentheses and you flipped it in the parentheses. Oh, no, I'm sorry. You kept it the same and put in parentheses, so x plus 5 and then x plus 4. And then that is the factored answer. Well, we don't have to do that. We're going to skip some steps here, and let's see if it makes some sense. So here's the deal. I'm still dividing by a, so this is the dividing by a piece. Remember, don't forget that. Then reduce, if possible, and flip out. I can't reduce those, so that's done. Now flip out. -5, comma, -4, curly brackets. Those are my answers. Okay, that's it. That's all I got to do. Not that hard. Let's make this side 0. I get 6y squared minus 23y plus 20 equals 0. Let's bring something out if I can, but I can't because it's not 24. So now I'm making x. I get 120 and I get 23. So these numbers here are 15 and 8. Divide by a. Reduce. So this is divide by 3, that's 5/2. Divide by 2, that's 4/3. Then flip. -5/2, comma, -4/3. Curly brackets, you're done. Alright, not that hard. It's not that bad. It's not that bad. Couple more steps, but that's all we're doing. Alright. Let's do this one. Make this, bring it over. So I get 30x to the 4 minus 16x to the 3 plus 2x squared equals 0. Is there anything I can take out? Well, they all have 2 x's in them, but they all are even too. So I can take out 2x squared. Now I can multiply by 15x squared minus 8x plus 1 equals 0. Now, this is where it gets a little tricky. We got to understand what we're doing. I'm going to take this and equal it to 0. So like 2x squared equals 0, but that's x is equal to 0. So that's one answer, x equals 0. Then I'm going to take this and I'm going to factor it. So I get 15, -8, -5, -3. Divide by the a, which is now 15. Reduce, -1/3. Reduce, -1/5. Flip. So my answers are 0, comma, 1/3 positive and 1/5 positive after I flipped in curly brackets. Last one. And then you have some more to do. Bring this over. I get a squared plus 16a plus 64 equals 0. I cannot factor. There's nothing in common. So I get 64, 16, 8, and 8. I divide by a, which is 1. Flip out. My answer is -8. Remember, these are both -8, but I only have to write one time. I don't have to write it 2 times if it's the same number. Okay? That's it for this examples for the teaching. Now, what you have to do is these next 4. So go ahead and pause the video, do these next 4, and then hit play. Alright, here you go. Here are the answers to the last 4 pieces that you had to do. The first one, you had to take out nothing. You put it into the x. You got 6 and 5 after you flipped your numbers out. The second one, you brought over the -24, made it positive. You then multiplied and you got your 2 side numbers. You divided by the a value. You flipped them out. You get -6 and -4/5. I'll leave the third one to the last, and let's do the b squared equals 144. So there's 2 different ways to do this one. One is you can just bring the 144 over. That's what I did. And then you solve it, you get +12 and -12. Or the other one is you could actually just square root it right here, and then you get b equals ±12 right from there. That's up to you. You can only do that if you don't have a middle term like an x term or a b term. The third one, I left it to the end because I was trying to figure out what could multiply to get certain values. But this actually will never work. This will never get the values that we need. And so once I figured that out, I'm sorry, I didn't realize it was going to do that. But when you took out an x in the very beginning, you still get x is equal to 0. Okay? The graph does still cross the x and the y-axis, or yeah, the x-axis is what we're looking for, but it's going to cross at decimal values that we can't actually put into a fraction, and that's what we're going to learn in 4.6 maybe, or 4.5, something like that. It talks about quadratic formula, and we're not ready to do that yet. So don't worry about this problem. Don't worry. Be happy now. I'm just kidding. But don't worry about that. So you still can get 0, and then these will just be decimal values on the graph. That's it for this video, for this lesson. I will see you in the next one. 4.4, I think it is. Deuces.